what all monotheists are told to do, and admire the man who said, yes, I'll gut my kid to show my love of God, I'd say, no, fuck you. Who can create us sick, as apparently we are, and then order us on pain of eternal torture to be well again. You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Hey. Okay. I'm trying really hard to not act as groggy and tired as I feel. I am honestly afraid for my country right now. And I am a patriot. I had somebody write to me and tell me that I can't be a patriot. He is a patriot because he is a war veteran. And I guess you have to actually serve in the military and fight in a war to be a patriot. My father was a patriot, and he did fight in a war. And in my early 20s, I tried very hard to get into the U.S. Navy. I went through a year of working out. I had my braces, I had braces on my teeth. And I had them taken off prematurely because I wanted to go into the Navy and serve my country and be like my father. This is when I was 22 years old. You'll notice in my videos my lower teeth are horrible. The upper teeth aren't too bad, but my lower teeth are horrible. They're jagged and horrible. That's because I had my braces taken off prematurely, and then I couldn't afford to go back and have them put back on. I had a job as a hostess, and I worked volunteer at a Bible camp at this time. I couldn't afford to have the braces put back on, so I have lived the rest of my life with horribly crooked lower teeth. Because I did try very hard to get into the Navy and serve my country, and I was disqualified after a year of trying very hard because I was too blind. So yes, I am a patriot, and yes, it upsets me very much to see what is happening to my country and what Donald Trump, the danger that Donald Trump presents to this country. He wants to make America a dictatorship. He actually admires dictators. He admires them and compares himself to them and talks like a dictator. Only I can make things better. He talks like a dictator. He wants to put a wall around America like the Soviet Union, a communist country, had a wall around it, the Iron Curtain. I was thinking last night about a bunch of stuff, about things I've read on Facebook about Hillary. They accuse her of not being soft and warm and fuzzy enough. She's not warm. She's not human enough. She's also too confident. Yeah, Hillary Clinton, she's just too confident. You know, in my life, I've seen a lot of male presidents, and I've seen a lot of male candidates battling with each other, and I've read a lot of news articles about the campaigns, and I've never in my life heard a male candidate accused of being too confident or not human enough. He's not warm and human enough. I've never heard that directed at a man before. I've never heard a male candidate accused of being too confident before. And the other thing that I constantly hear about Hillary, oh, she's a liar. It's funny, but if you look, again, I'm going back to religion, if you look at how the Bible and the Quran both paint women They are the devil incarnate. They are evil personified that men have to constantly control and dominate to keep the evil at bay. Women are painted as naturally evil in the Bible, and creatures that are deceptive, that try to lure men and lead them astray. The wanton horrors in the Bible that men have to be afraid of. That's how women are painted in the Bible. You can look up the verses, that Google it. I'm too tired right now to bother. But that is how women are painted in the Bible. Temptresses, deceptive and dishonest, that will lead you straight to hell if you don't watch out. So interesting that we have this fixation on what a liar, what a disingenuous human being Hillary is. And yet we have this towering example of dishonesty standing next to her, aka Trump. I mean, he is so dishonest. Like I said in my video yesterday, he can't keep his own lies straight. At one point he said he has met Putin, and now he says, oh, he admits that he's never met him. Oops. Anyway, this is going to be a long video because I am about to read from an article that I found yesterday. But I wanted to interject that intro. That's a great way of saying it. Anyway, again, I feel that religion is tainting our perceptions of a woman like it has tainted humankind's perceptions of women for the last several thousand years, because of the teachings of these man-made books that have spawned these Abrahamic patriarchal cults that have all these assumptions made about women that they want people to walk around and believe are true. It is unfair for Hillary to be held to different standards than Donald Trump. If you're going to look at her under a magnifying glass, you need to look under that same glass at Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, but when your candidate is such a liar and so dishonest and deceitful, and obviously leads people astray, leads people to believe that he is their only hope, and that every Muslim in this country is a danger. I don't like Islam, but I don't walk around feeling like that about a whole group of people, or think that all Mexicans are this way and all black people are this way and all women are this way. He is deceiving people. He's feeding into people's fears. He's doing all the things that the Bible warns that women are capable of doing. Well, that's what Donald Trump is doing, not Hillary Clinton. And if you're going to have a fair run for the presidency, a fair competition, you need to judge both candidates by the same standards. If you expect warm and fuzzy from Hillary, then I'm sorry, Donald Trump needs to be warm and fuzzy too. I haven't seen any warm and fuzzy from that person. And if you expect Hillary Clinton to not be too confident, then you better expect Donald Trump to not be too confident either. And I'm sorry, I don't think that Donald Trump is capable of being humble. I don't see him as capable of humility. There's not a humble bone in his entire body. So why should Hillary walk around with her head lowered, feeling humble and not too confident, if Donald Trump is not also expected to walk around being humble and not too confident? If Hillary Clinton is supposed to be a warm and fuzzy, human, approachable, motherly figure, then so should Donald Trump be expected to be these things. I'm sorry, but as long as we continue to have two different expectations on these candidates because of their gender, this is not a fair election. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the article that I found yesterday. I think it's very telling that many Republicans are against this person and understand what a threat he is to this country. And make no mistake, he is a threat to this country. I have no doubt that if he should get elected, in 1 year's time, people will look at the United States of America and not recognize it anymore. It will be that changed for the worse. It will be a dictatorship. We will be under a dictator, under a king. Our founding fathers did so much to break us free from that. And Donald Trump wants to take us back to that. All Republicans are not the same, just like all Democrats are not the same. All Republicans do not believe in the exact same things. They're not all racist. They're not all bigots. They're not all sexist. I'm sure there's a lot of really good people that are Republicans. And interestingly enough, a lot of these good people are rejecting Donald Trump. And the reason is, there's only one reason. He is not a good person. Now, the funny thing is, every time somebody says anything negative about Donald Trump, immediately the reaction is, well, what about Hillary Clinton? We're not talking about Hillary Clinton. Can we focus for once on the male in this campaign, in this race for the presidency? Can we focus on the male and just not look at her for just a minute? Donald Trump is not a good person. I found this article yesterday. I don't know if it's the first time this has happened, but surely it's a very unusual thing that the Houston Chronicle editorial board has endorsed Hillary Clinton. The article stated July 29th, 2016. Houston, Texas. The red state, the Republican state, the Houston Chronicle editorial board endorses Hillary Clinton. And the headline of this article says, "These are unsettling times that require a steady hand. That's not Donald Trump." So then there's this really long article, and I'm going to read it. I will also post the link below if you don't feel like listening to me try to read something when I just woke up. On November 8th, 2016, the American people will decide between two presidential contenders who represent the starkest political choice in living memory. They will choose between one candidate with vast experience and a lifelong dedication to public service and another totally lacking in qualifications to be president. They will decide whether they prefer someone deeply familiar with the issues that are important to this nation or a person whose paper-thin bumper sticker proposals would be dangerous to the nation and the world if somehow they were enacted. Her opponent. The Chronicle editorial page does not typically endorse early in an election cycle. We prefer waiting for the campaign to play out and for issues to emerge and be addressed. We make an exception in the 2016 presidential race because the choice between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is not merely political. It is something much more basic than party preference. An election between the Democrat Clinton and, let's say, the Republican Jeb Bush or John Kasich or Marco Rubio Even the hyper-ideological Ted Cruz would spark a much-needed debate about the role of government and the nation's future, about each candidate's experience and abilities, but those Republican hopefuls have been vanquished. To choose the candidate who defeated them fairly and decisively, we should point out, is to repudiate the most basic notions of competence and capability. Any one of Trump's less than sterling qualities, his erratic temperament, his dodgy business practices, his racism, his Putin-like strongman inclinations and faux populist demagoguery, his contempt for the rule of law, his ignorance, is enough to be disqualifying. His convention speech comment, "I alone can fix it," should make every American shudder. He is, we believe, a danger to the Republic. It's telling that so many Republicans have distanced themselves from their party's nominee. That sizable list includes a number of prominent Texans, Bush family members foremost among them, as well as Senator Cruz and House Speaker Joe Straus. These stalwart Republicans are concerned not only about the future of their party, parentheses, and, with the exception of the two Bush presidents, their own political careers, but, more important, they're concerned about the future of this nation. It would not be surprising to discover that these experienced politicians and public servants share the existential concern that First Lady Michelle Obama raised in her powerful speech on behalf of Clinton at the party's convention in Philadelphia. Because when you have the nuclear codes at your fingertips and the military at your command, you can't make snap decisions. You can't have a thin skin or a tendency to lash out. You need to be steady and measured and well-informed. Americans know Hillary Clinton. Post-Philadelphia, they're even better acquainted with the real Hillary Clinton, as her husband phrased it. After her quarter century and more in the public eye, they know her strengths and her weaknesses. Anyone who has paid even a modicum of attention to her experience as First Lady, as U.S. Senator, as Secretary of State, and as a candidate for President will have at least a general notion of her positions on the issues. As President Obama noted, she's the most qualified person in years to serve as president. And that includes Bill and me. The only candidate to come close is George H.W. Bush. Whether voters like her personality is almost irrelevant at this moment of reckoning, to use Clinton's words. She herself concedes that she is not a natural campaigner. She lacks Obama's oratorical gifts or her husband's folksy ability to connect with crowds. Too often she comes across as calculated or inauthentic. We are confident that she is indeed steady and measured and well-informed, and that she would be a much better president than a presidential candidate. The issues. On the issues, there's no comparison in terms of thoughtfulness, thoroughness, and practicality. Acknowledging the influence of erstwhile competitor Bernie Sanders, for example, she will focus as president on repairing an economy that has left many working people behind and struggling. She will address income inequality and wage stagnation and will work to create jobs. She'll work with Congress to end tax loopholes, noting, as she did on CBS's 60 Minutes last weekend, that an executive shouldn't be paying the same tax rate as his secretary. She also will push for equal pay for women, increasing the minimum wage, and expanding tax credits for poorer families. Immigration reform. Rejecting the ridiculous border wall notion her opponent famously touts, she'll push for comprehensive immigration reform, building on a sensible plan that passed the U.S. Senate 3 years ago, only to be held hostage by a rump group of Tea Party opponents in the House. She has said she intends within the first 100 days of her administration to introduce a path for the undocumented among us to earn citizenship. Healthcare. Healthcare has been a decades-long issue for Clinton, at least since her days as the First Lady of her adopted state of Arkansas. As First Lady in the White House a few years later, her failed health initiative led to the creation of CHIP, the immensely successful Children's Health Insurance Program. She will work to improve the Affordable Care Act, not abolish it. Energy. On energy, an issue of importance to Houston, she acknowledges the seriousness of climate change, the most consequential, urgent, sweeping problem the world faces. She has said that she wants the United States to be the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. She also acknowledges that clean energy reforms will result in economic casualties, among them the coal industry. She has proposed a $30 billion plan to revitalize communities where coal production is in decline, and, as Bill Clinton mentioned in his convention speech last week, she intends to dispatch him to West Virginia to help struggling families and communities build a viable economic future. Hillary Clinton has said she sees natural gas as a bridge fuel and foresees a new economy built on rapidly increasing shares of renewable energy. She has a record of supporting fracking, and she supports the Paris Agreement on climate change. Foreign affairs. On trade, another vital Houston issue, we have our differences with the Democrat. Although she now says she opposes the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade deal we support, we're confident she will be adept at negotiating deals that will grow wages and jobs and that will protect American workers. Despite his vaunted deal-making claims, her opponent, we suspect, would be lost at sea trying to meet the nation's trade goals. On foreign affairs, the former Secretary of State is knowledgeable, dependable, and trusted worldwide, unlike her blusterous opponent, whose outrageous remarks last week about Russia were merely the most recent bizarre outburst to unsettle our allies. Needless to say, Clinton supports NATO, unlike Trump, who, in the words of columnist Timothy Egan, now stands ready to repudiate nearly 70 years of security for our European allies under an American First banner. Temperament. We could go on with issues including her plans for sensible gun safety and for combating terrorism. Her policy positions are laid out in detail on her campaign website, but issues in this election are almost secondary to questions of character and trustworthiness. We reject the cartoon version of Hillary Clinton, again to borrow her husband's phrase, in favor of a presidential candidate who has the temperament, the ability, and the experience to lead this nation. These are unsettling times, even if they're not the dark dystopian. These are unsettling times, even if they're not the dark dystopian end times that Trump lays out. They require a steady hand. That's not Donald Trump. The times also require a person who envisions a hopeful future for this nation, a person who has faith in the strong, prosperous, and confident America we hope to bequeath our children and grandchildren, as First Lady Michelle Obama so eloquently envisioned in Philadelphia. That's not Donald Trump's America. It is Hillary Clinton's, who reminded her listeners Thursday night that when there are no ceilings, the sky's the limit. America's first female president would be in the Oval Office more than a century and a half after a determined group of women launched the women's suffrage movement, and almost a century after women in this country won the right to vote. It's a milestone, to be sure. Few could have imagined it would be so consequential. That's the end of the article. even staunch Republicans distrust and fear Donald Trump. I look at it this way. Hillary Clinton is the only thing standing in the way of a man who wants to make the United States another Soviet Union.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.